because that is the perfect place to start our podcast. Greetings from Somerville with Ryan Reiss. Oh my goodness. What a special episode this is.
I didn't realize Somerville was zip code 90210.
Now, why would you say such a thing?
Because we're in the penthouse and you're drinking red wine.
This is not how you know me?
No. I remember walking into Off the Wagon one night with a date and seeing you there by yourself. I was like, what are you doing here? And you were like, I'm having a good time. I was like, oh, all right.
I do not recall this evening that you speak of.
It was a surprise.
Yes, I guess there's a reason I don't recall it.
Well, why am I taking dates to Off the Wagon?
Off the Wagon, a great bar in the Village right by the Comedy Cellar.
Yes.
And but a place that you go there and you've crossed a line in terms of you're not. It's not a classy place. It's I know a couple people who have broken up after there, and also people who have gotten together there. How'd your date go that night?
We hung out with you. I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah.
Was I fun?
Yeah, you're always fun, but it's just one of those things where I hadn't seen you in years, and you were just at this bar.
Yeah.
But my point is, now that we sit in your penthouse.
Now that we're in the penthouse.
Oh, the penthouse.
Yes. I'm glad you showered to come over.
A place that you should not be.
I think you said that to the concierge downstairs.
But he knew exactly what I meant. I had to explain it. He didn't go, what are you talking about? He was like, yeah.
Somerville does not belong in a penthouse. Yet here we are. Thank you for coming to the show. One of my longest friends, I would say, in the comedy world, right?
Yeah, I guess the rest of them quit or died or
things have gone, and you and I have persevered.
We're still in it, man.
We're still doing it, whether that's poor judgment or just...
it's too late. What are you going to do?
And I feel that way. What are you going to do at this point, right?
You have a large gap in your resume you'd have to explain.
My dad talks about that all the time, too. Like, what would you say if you went to a company? It's like, I'm not planning to go to a company. This is you're looking at it. Well, what would you say, though? How do you explain those years? I think I'll show them Letterman. That was
Can you just imagine that at a job interview? You're like, oh, check this out.
Speaking of, I was present at your very first national television debut on late night TV. For our listeners, as a comedian, whether it's right or wrong, being on late night TV is just it's the Super Bowl. It's kind of the thing that the benchmark of arriving and being in the game. And for years and years, obviously, Johnny Carson and then Letterman. And my friend Ryan Reiss, my guest today, is not only did his debut, which I witnessed, and he absolutely destroyed it. I recommend you Google, what do they search if they want to watch it?
Ryan Reiss, Late Night with Seth Meyers.
Ryan Reiss, Late Night with Seth Meyers. Reiss, Reiss.
That's it.
But he's also the warm-up comedian, which is a whole job unto itself. And not only a warm-up, but a master. Ryan was kind enough to agree to do my album release party and host that evening. He's an absolute master of just corralling any room, I would say. But let's start there. So you do the warm-up for Seth. Every episode, you are the guy who comes out. Now, some of our listeners may not know what that even means.
So every show has a warm-up comedian. And the warm-up comedian comes out and gets the audience ready for the show they're about to watch. Because reality is you've been watching your favorite program for years. You're probably not screaming and clapping along to it in your house. So you've kind of subconsciously trained yourself to watch your favorite performer in silence. So someone needs to come out and very quickly kind of shake up the crowd and get them responding, get them reacting, get them laughing, understand this is a live performance. You're not just sitting there being a passive audience.
That's a great way of describing it. Because, yeah, you're right. I mean, especially in this day and age, we tend to sit back and just watch. And that doesn't look or sound good on TV, right?
No, and as a performer yourself, you understand, like, how much would that rattle your confidence if your audience just sat back and took in your act?
And just stared. Unfortunately, I've been there a few times. But now, That said, you do, and I've been to a lot of live tapings, and I've actually even done what you do once or twice, and it's not an easy job. You're coming out to a room full of people who don't know each other, tourists, cold, hot, sweaty,
Foreign.
Tired. What are they doing?
Foreign from other countries.
Oh, I thought you said farting. Yeah,
no,
foreign.
I'm sure they're farting too.
Okay, they might be farting. Okay, foreign from other countries. Language can be a barrier. And I watched you the night I came. I watched you spin that room within seconds, 30 seconds. It took you to. You know what impressed me most? You made them feel like something was happening, and they wanted to be a part of it. And that was an amazing thing to watch. As a comedian, you get up sometimes and you have bad shows. Sometimes you never get the crowd. Within 30 seconds, you had that room wanting to be with you. And that was, I mean, I don't even know if you can teach that.
Let's hope not, because I need this job.
Yeah.
I am not dating well like Michael, so I have to really, it's repetition. It's doing it 1,000 times, 100,000 times, and just, and also you have to be suited for the show, and you also have to, feel out your audience. There's a lot of, as any performer knows, there's just a lot of things involved in it.
But, crowd work is, as you say, repetition, obviously.
My own opinion is that you can only do so much crowd work with an audience before they're like, okay, we get it. So then you have to, like today on the show was one of the situations where like they don't tell you when you have to go long. They don't go, by the way, there's like something going on, so you might have to do like,
oh, wow.
They never tell you. So I went out tonight and I'm thinking I'm doing my regular 15, and they're not giving me the wrap it up signal. So I'm like, all right, something's up.
Something's up.
So now I'm in my head, and I'm still trying to entertain, but now I got to start going through my head, like, what can I say? What am I going to do? Because now we got to segue into material, because I can't. Where you're from only goes so far. It's like, and you want to keep the audience. So then you transition to material. Now you're picking material in your head, and you're like, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate.
What's going to work, yeah. And to me, that's always the scariest thing, is not knowing when you're done. I can do, up to however long you want, as long as I know how long I'm doing. But when you get up and you don't know when you're done, that scares the life out of me as a comedian.
Yeah, it scares us all. I'm not... but like I've also been through it enough now that when I don't get the signal,
right,
I now know something's wrong, and now I'm like, I wish I had a heads up. I would have prepared a little better. Now I'm like trying to juggle in my head. Like,
you know how to shift gears.
Yeah.
There was a great comics club on 14th and 9th that was open for a while here in New York, and
Harlan's baby.
That's exactly right, and a beautiful spot, and I miss it. But it was the opening night, or one of the opening nights they had. It was like Monique or one of those comedians who was supposed to headline, and she wasn't there yet. It was just like the classic big name doesn't show up. But they started the show, and they told, I don't remember who it was, they told the MC to just go on, and we'll let you know when the headliner arrives. And it was an hour and a half. It was an hour and a half. That's how the story goes, at least. And it was just like, can you imagine that, being up there for an hour and a half, not know, like just dancing as fast as you can, and what do you do?
So, it always amazes me that for some reason people know someone's late or not there, right?
Right.
And they think if they start the show, whatever the show is, whether it's a show of comics or a warm show, if they start the show, whoever they're waiting on will arrive.
Magically just show. Well, they'll see the bat signal.
Yeah, like there's nothing wrong with an audience sitting and waiting. That's fine. That's when they're in real life. Like when you start performing for an audience, you're asking them to do something active.
Right.
That's taxing.
Right.
So I'm always like, just let them sit. Just let them relax. Because once we start, we started.
What? Now it's on.
Yeah. But a lot of people just get tense and nervous, and they go, well, if we start him, the headliner's got to show up.
The show's going, and now it's all going to happen.
As if like we're dominoes. Like that domino fell, so clearly
it's all going to happen. Just as an aside, one of my favorites, I was doing a Minot, North Dakota show New Year's Eve a couple of years ago, and
say North Dakota,
Minot, North Dakota, where they tell you have to fly in a day. I hate flying a day early.
Where?
Minot is was negative.
Oh, that's a. I
Minot, Minot.
I thought it was like not North
yeah.
Dakota. Like,
no, you didn't. North Dakota. No, Minot, North Dakota. Big, like I think oil area. A lot of blue collar, cash people working for whatever. And so I'm doing a show there for New Year's Eve, and they have me in. You gotta.
He's got a wonderful agent.
Yeah, exactly. That's leading to the next thing. So they tell you to fly a day early. I don't want to fly a day early. I hate doing that because you don't get paid to go a day early. But they always say in case something happens. And in this case, they say because of the weather, like it's 30 below, you can't fly. And sure enough, I flew a day early. Spent the night in Denver because it was 28 below, and I couldn't fly into Minot. Get in the next day. Anyway, show's at 8 p.m. on New Year's Eve. And I said, what do you want? To the guy. And he says, just do your bit, do your show, the whole thing. And then as you're wrapping up, count down till midnight. Like, do the countdown. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm going on at 8 p.m. How am I going to do the countdown at midnight? And he said, well, yeah, let's do like 4 hours and then count down to midnight. And I said, exactly. That's what I said. So what are you talking about? Well, it turns out they've never done comedy. They'd only done bands in the past. And that's what the band would do. You play a set, you take a break, you play a set, and then they do the countdown at midnight. And I had to explain. And the guy got furious. He's like, I hired you to do midnight. And I was like, So same thing. I was like, look, I can do an hour and 20, an hour and 30. I mean, at some point, they're going to get tired of it. So I went on about 8:30 instead of 8. I went till about 10. And then I was like, that's it. It's done. I feel done. They feel done. No one wants to listen to me talk anymore. I was out of jokes. I can do them in Spanish. I don't know what to do for you people. And then I'll never forget, the guy was furious. He's like, you're supposed to be midnight. I was like, I'll come back at midnight and count down. But anyway, point being, no one knows comedy if they don't do it.
What was the money on that gig?
It was good. It was good.
What's good?
Yeah, it's Penthouse good.
What's good? I can't believe that you just
35?
showed me it's like you showed me this whole place, but then you're like, you don't want to tell me what you got from North Dakota?
3,500, I think.
Okay, that's
for
good.
a night. Yeah.
Not for 4 hours, but I mean, for an hour show, it's pretty good.
For New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve. Well, yes, as a comic, New Year's Eve is always touchy because you never know. You're gonna get a good crowd. You're gonna get drunk. So you're gonna get. I tend to not work. New Year's Eve and Halloween are the two dates. Mitch Fatel always told me that. He's like, New Year's Eve and Halloween, you better pay me well because I don't want to. And he had a good point. He's like, yeah, the crowds are terrible.
Where'd you have to fly into for that North Dakota gig?
You flew to Denver and then you flew into Minot, which is a small airport kind of airport. You ever been to these airports on the road where they literally they're not open and then they open for a flight?
Yep.
Like the guy, like John, pulls up in his car and turns on the the actual equipment, and you're like, oh, he opens the gate and he turns on the That was the gig.
I have sat in rent-a-cars outside of airports that have been closed until
exactly
John shows up.
Until
and you're like, all right.
Good old Zeke pulls up, and
you take for granted the fact that you can go to like Newark or JFK and just like sleep there.
You
can't do that.
They're actually closed. You can't get in. The place is chained up. Yeah, no, and they open up, and the guy Zeke drives in, opens up the airport. They do 2 flights a day.
You're watching TSA get to start their day.
Exactly.
By the way, Zeke or John is also TSA.
Yeah, exactly. They do that too.
Guy.
Exactly. They search your bags. They do the whole thing. Anyway, back to you.
I played North Dakota.
Did you?
Yes, and because I feel like it's a rarity among like it's North Dakota.
Not a lot of
I did
no
a gig.
clubs.
I did a gig called it was in Jamestown, North Dakota.
Okay.
And it was like every gig I get through my college agent. It's always like 2 hours outside of whatever airport. So I think I might have flown into Fargo and then like I had to go 2 hours up towards Canada.
Nice.
Just nothing out there.
Yeah.
Just
nothing.
Not even a turn in the road. Just.
Well, my parents, funny enough, used to live in the late 60s. My parents lived in North Dakota, Hazen, North Dakota. And my dad got transferred for a job. He worked for an engineering firm, and we're talking late 60s. They moved out there on a whim, quickly, got to go, and lived in a trailer in an alfalfa field, in the middle of an alfalfa field by themselves. It's like some it's like some real like murder movie stuff. Yeah. And my mom talks about it to this day, just like in the middle of an alfalfa field, you hear one little sound, late 60s. Yeah. And there was nothing to do there, to the point where one night they drove 100 miles to see a 300-pound go-go dancer, because you looked in the newspaper for anything to do, and that was it. And they went and they drove all that way to see a 300-pound go-go dancer, I think in Bismarck. Is that the capital?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they were there for 20 minutes, and some guy came in, and there was a guy and a woman sitting at the bar, and another guy came in and took a beer bottle and just smashed it over the head of the other guy. It turns out it was like the guy was with the other guy's wife or something at the bar, and my mom said, all right, we're not going to see the Go-Go Dancer. I'm ready to leave. And so they just drove back and never saw the Go-Go Dancer. Not a lot to do in North Dakota.
I did a show called Clown for a Day.
Clown for a Day.
And it was a charity event. So I don't ask questions when I book gigs. I just assumed, I'm the clown for the day. This is a charity event. I'm the clown for the day. So I got this gig, and I get to the theater, and very liberal with the word theater. It was just a large, I don't know what it was. But there's 1,000, 2,000 people there dressed as clowns.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's Clown for a Day. Everyone dresses like a clown. I was the only one not in clown.
Are you kidding me?
This happened, and it was a charity event, and they're all hammered. And this is
everyone's
clown,
hammered clowns.
Clown. And this is the first time I've ever.
This is terrifying.
The first time I've ever considered walking away from a gig. I was literally there about an hour early, and I was like, I'm going to tell them I think they have the wrong performer. Thank you very much. Here's your money back.
This is remarkable.
But, I said, let me talk to some of these guys. So I started talking to the clowns.
And they're regular people dressed as clowns.
They're regular people, but I have to figure out quickly, what concerns them. So, at the time, there was the pipeline protest.
Okay, yes.
So the people that were protesting the pipeline were coming from out of state to protest it. And I don't know if you know this, but no one lives in North Dakota. So
Not a lot of people.
Very taxing on their fire department and their police department and any of their service people, because they all had to go police the protest.
Okay.
So stuff like picking up garbage and other things just weren't happening for the locals because all those workers had to go.
All right, the resources
handle the protests.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, whether you're for the protests or not, inconvenience is inconvenience.
Sure.
So I'm terrified to do this gig, and I very quickly got one joke. I knew I had one joke, and I was like, I don't know how the rest of the show's going to go, but I know I can open with one joke, and they'll love me. And that's how I open with one joke.
Can we hear it?
Yeah, sure, but punchline's a foul word, so I don't.
Okay,
So
well,
we'll
we are going to be clean on iTunes here, so
Is PG-13 okay?
I think so. Is it a B word?
No.
It's a word.
Yes.
Can we just say a word?
Yeah.
Yeah? I don't want to water down. I don't want to stifle your creativity.
That's fine. So
but we are on
I'm
iTunes.
on the fly here.
We're on iTunes as clean, so yeah.
That's fine. So I'm on stage. I'm staring at between 1,000 and 2,000 clowns. Which is just a nightmare. And I know they're going to know I'm not from the area. So I decided to take it head on. I go, hey, so I'm from New York, which is automatically there's a murmur in the crowd.
Dirty foreigner.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've already raised the tension in the room. And I go, I've never been to this area of the world before. I've never been to North Dakota before, but I had a chance to talk to some of the locals and meet some of the people. And, I understand what you guys are going through. And it turns out that I think this is a fact. At the time, 95% of the people they were arresting at the pipeline protests were not from North Dakota.
Really?
95% of those people were not Native American. This is a fact. And I said, it turns out they're just A-words. And it was because
that's a good joke.
These people are inconveniencing their lives.
Right.
So
right.
they that was it. I hated the rest of my act, but they loved
that
joke.
first joke.
And if you can get them to love one joke.
That's it. That's a good joke, and I feel bad stifling it because
I get it, but I was fighting for my life then, and then I did another 40 minutes of they didn't like any of it, but they were so drunk that afterwards they were like, "That's a great job."
A bunch of drunk, angry clowns. It sounds like the most terrible. 1,000 drunk, angry clowns. That sounds like the.
It was a charity event for a children's hospital, and
it sounds terrifying. It just does sound horrible. Now,
yes.
Cut to my my experience with crowd work in general, and I say this because of what you do as a warm up. I got when I first started comedy, I got a college agent, and I had about 6 minutes of material, and I sent it out. My tape, and I got all these bookings. The summer of college bookings. There was summer schools, all this stuff.
What year?
A whole summer. This what year?
Yeah.
It was I don't even remember. It might have been 2000, 2001.
All right.
Whenever it was, and I got my first contract, and it said, you're booked, with the student cafe, whatever, 8 to 9 p.m. I go, great. Who else is on the show? An hour show, and they said, well, no one. It's you for an hour. And I didn't tell them, but I was like, I don't have an hour. I have 6 minutes. That was on the tape that I sent you. So rather than concede, I had about a month to prepare for my first show, and I had maybe 15 or 20 shows that summer, hour shows. And I said, okay, buckle up and get ready. Well, I credit, without boring you with the details, I credit that summer with how I got good at crowd work, which I don't do very much anymore. But out of necessity, I opened my first joke, it didn't go well. Sped up to the second joke, didn't go well. Rifled through 6 minutes in 3.5 minutes, and then started doing crowd work. What do you do? Who do you live with? What are you studying? That went bad about 12 minutes in when I looked at one of the students and said, what are you studying? And he goes, you just asked me that like 2 minutes ago. And I was like, oh, okay. So some bumpy shows. But crowd work is live. It's real. It's in the moment. And it is you on the spot. It's not a script anymore. It's you.
The audience knows that too. That's why they like it.
They turn up, right? They get excited.
This is dangerous. This guy's...
It's no longer your script.
Taking chances.
This guy is in the moment.
And a lot of problems with stand-up, especially and I get it, you have to have a unique voice and point of view, but what I notice about a lot of stand-ups now is that maybe it should be, you can have arguments either way, but it's always I'm not, and I enjoy, so it's very not inclusive of the audience.
Very interesting.
And especially in today's society, I feel like
everything's that. And I think that's a lot of my stand-up is I, me, yeah.
Yeah, but it's very engaging. You know what I mean? When I watch people talk about really specific things on stage to their own lives, I'm like, I don't know, because you got to relate it. You got to relate it to the audience.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and they like things. I mean, everyone likes things being about them. That's people like to hear about themselves. When I watched you work doing the warm up for Seth, I just thought it was. I
was really glad to have you there that night too.
Oh my God, I can't tell you how fun it was for me because, I'm sure you can relate to this, as a comedian or someone who works in entertainment, it's hard to be an audience member. It's hard to be a fan, and because you're always looking and wondering. You're always thinking about the inner workings of what's happening. You turned me into an audience member in 10 seconds. I mean, I was sitting back, enjoying myself, watching you just spin that audience into a frenzy. And then one of the coolest things that I'd love to hear about your experience was, you did that. And then all of a sudden, guess who's the star comedian on the show? You not only came out, the audience knows you, but the TV audience at home doesn't know you. Only the live audience saw you. And all of a sudden, you're going to be the comedian that's coming out on stage and on national TV. Just if you don't mind, tell us a little about that. Did you have to shift gears? How did it feel?
I was already under a ton of pressure because not just the set, but I work there. They see me. They know me. I want to do well for the team.
You want to do well for the...
It's like playing for your parents. And then I got my friends in the audience, and I'm like, that's really what the pressure was. And then, as you know, when you do a late night show, you can't break from script.
Right.
And I almost never stick to a script. Right. So now I'm in that situation of if these words do not work, I have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So, and then the warm-up, I was flying. I was so just trying to be I got to go do something. It was a different...
Were you amped up the extra?
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt like I was falling forward. I was, when you fall forward, you don't really fall, but you're just propelled forward.
Right. I fall a lot. Yeah. That night off the wagon.
Yeah, I was going to say that's alcoholism. Also I knew that, one, I don't trust anyone. Could you imagine I trust someone else with the warm-up that day and they don't do it right?
No.
And then I got to do a set.
Well, was that an option? Were you given the option of not doing the warm-up?
The show was incredibly kind. They were like, this is your night. We can always grab someone. And I was like, I don't trust anyone else.
Why would you, right?
I need this audience.
Well, and I was going to say, I thought that the audience was just, they were doubly there for you.
Yes.
We know this guy. He's our friend now. Yep. And now we're going to support him? This is, to me, that was an ideal scenario.
I also knew not a lot. I can't imagine. I don't know. Maybe one other person that's done warm up and then done a late night set on the same show.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I knew that experience wasn't going to be something everyone would have a chance to do.
Well, I had the rare privilege of doing a little warm up. I got to do Letterman, which was a treat, and then late show. And funny you say that. I told you the story about a college kid was asking me. He knew I was a comedian. He said, "Hey, do you have a Netflix special?" And I said, "No, but I was on Letterman 4 times." And he goes, "What's that? A website?" And I was like, "Holy cow!" But I had the pleasure of performing on the show and then doing the warm up for 2 weeks, and as you say, it's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different experience. You come out, nobody knows you, and no one cares who you are. They're excited to be there. But there's a lot of scattered energy. I'd almost liken it, in my opinion, to like a Saturday night at a comedy club. Everyone's in a good mood. Everyone's happy to be there. But it's not necessarily focused energy. It was a lot of like scattered energy, and your job was to get them a little bit zeroed into like your job is listen and laugh.
I remember the first time I saw warm up. I think it might have been Mercurio.
Paul Mercurio, sure.
Yeah.
At
like,
the Daily Show, yeah.
And I was like, who is this? The production hires a comedian? How cool is that?
Yeah.
And this dude wasn't even dressed. He just came out and he was just like in his street clothes and it was like, da-da-da, da-da-da. And I was like, wow.
Not a bad way, by the way, to make a living. I mean, you can make some money depending on the show, depending on the...
It depends on how much they like you. It depends on what the competition is.
But there are guys, right? Joey Cola, some of these guys have been...
Joey Cola's, Rosie O'Donnell bought him a boat.
Put through... What's that?
Rosie O'Donnell bought him a boat.
Is that right?
Yeah, that was street legend until I actually got to confirm it with him.
Actually bought him a boat, or the money he made bought him?
No, bought him
a boat. Is that true?
I love you, Joey. Here's a boat.
Rosie O'Donnell bought him a boat. Well, there you go. And he put kids through college. You can make some money depending on the show. I know Letterman was $500 an episode, and so I wanted the job desperately. I was like, yeah, I would love to stay home and make $2,500 a week. And I didn't get it. They went with Alan Coulter, the announcer, the redheaded announcer, who decided he also wanted to do the warm up.
And now the show's gone. So obviously they chose the wrong one.
And exactly.
I hope David learned.
I hope he learned his lesson. Now you have coming up. You've done an interesting project that I was also part of, or at least I was. I don't know if I made the final cut. But you've done...
We're doing a documentary on warm-up. We haven't finished yet. We're still in the process.
But some good names, some exciting names.
The only way this thing works is that people have been very generous with their time and let me film and be a part of it. And, it doesn't work without the comedians helping me. And they have. So that's really been the surprise, is that the willingness of comics to...
I think it's a testament to you. I mean, when good people do stuff, people want to help them, and that's, you want to
find out. It might just be a really cool home movie. I don't know. I might be sitting in your dumb apartment being like, we should watch my movie.
Believe me, I would happily... Well, and that's, from the very beginning, we talked about this. We worked together at the Laugh Factory here, 42nd and 8th Street in Times Square.
So comedians all have very different opinions and sayings. Mike had a saying. Do you want to share? Do you want to share your saying?
Well, I only bring it up because it makes me laugh to this day, and I'm proud of you because you made it. You did it.
I don't know what I've done.
So early on, I had an acting teacher. I'll get you out of here.
No, I'm not doing that. No, I got nowhere to go. Don't worry about it. I'm fine.
But I had an acting teacher early on, and they said you do everything right. You work your ass off. You pay your dues. You do everything you can do. You study. You perform. You everything. And in 7 years, the business will have answered you. And I always thought that was the most. I loved it because I'm a technical. I need grades. I need final exams. I've always been a student, and once I got into this business,
bad one from the looks of it. What are you talking about? You didn't go to Harvard, you dummy. Shut up.
But I always did. I always knew like if I could study and then take a class and then get a grade and I was done. And then when I entered entertainment, it was hard for me because it's like, oh my God, this world is insane. There's no grades. There's no promotions. There's no, the corporate ladder. There's no. And so to me, I loved, I grabbed onto that, that saying of you do everything you can. And in 7 years of business has answered you. And I remembered early on you asked me, I shared that advice with you, right? How do you remember it?
We're at the bar, and by the way, he was successful. And what I knew of Mike at the Laugh Factory was he was not a drinker. I never saw him drink.
Never drank, no.
And I'm sure he left there and found himself in the strangest of places. But like at that time,
no, never a big crazy drinker.
Maybe you'd done Montreal. And you had like a show on TBS or something like that.
Right, I did a few things. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that show.
I think we were talking and you told me that story. You do everything you can. The business will answer you. Now, I've thought about this a lot. And I don't disagree with what you're saying, but it's really only half an answer. Because the teacher never said, what do you do after the business answers you? Because it's not a definitive answer.
Okay, and I agree with that.
The bottom line is no is the beginning of negotiations, not the end.
There's a lot of truth to that, and you're right. I mean, you think about, especially in our business, the truth is anyone can make it.
So I think I got my college agent in 2009. Okay. I applied to 22 college agencies. They all told me absolutely not.
Yeah.
Which is, I saw my tape. I knew what it was. This is a great tape. They are wrong.
Right.
They're just wrong. So I don't even think my agent even knows this. So I had gotten booked on a college student see me, and they're like, "We love you. We want to book you for a college show." And I was like, "Cool. Here's what I want you to do. Call this agent. Tell them you saw me somewhere. Ask them if they represent me."
I love it.
These guys, sure enough, they call this agency. They go, "We want to book Ryan Reiss for this school, whatever. Do you represent him?" And sure enough, the agent went, "Absolutely."
Yeah, I absolutely
Of course I do.
That's my A game.
Then got off the phone and called like every comic on his roster and was like, "Who the hell is Ryan Reiss?"
Are you serious?
Yes.
And there you go.
And they called me and they said, "We got you a college gig." I said, "Oh, did you?" So I took the college gig and I paid them commission on it.
Pay the commission, yeah.
And then they started booking me. After that.
There you go.
And they submitted me to NACA with that tape that 22 agencies said no to. And guess who got into NACA's?
You did.
With that tape.
Right.
And then, I was going to places like Kansas and New Mexico.
Right. But making good money.
Yes.
You can make some.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But the point is, the business answered me. I did not agree with the business.
With the business. Well, and I love to hear your take on that because I never thought about that. You're right. The truth is the business almost always says no to everyone, and then you just keep fighting and keep going.
And I'd also say it's very vague because, in 7 years, the business will answer you. Well, I think at that time I might have been 10 years. Maybe I'm like 5 or 6 years in at that time, and then. Right. But I'm working at the Laugh Factory in New York City, so maybe that's the business answering me yes.
Well, that's also...
So, you can't... And it's certainly not,
You're right. It doesn't mean you have a sitcom, but it means have you gotten a show or not? And that's a good question. What is the business answering you? What does that mean? It doesn't mean you're in movies. It means you are having you're getting some traction. Mm-hmm. And that's, yeah. And I remember your face was always so devastated when I would say it to you because you didn't like to hear it, and I was like,
because I didn't think it was accurate.
And it turns out you're right.
But I also take things very negative. So, you saying business will answer you, immediately I was just like, well, the business is answering me. I'm in the wrong business.
It's all going away. This is horrible.
Do you remember Mike D?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, Mike DiStefano, and he used to go, I tell you what, man, just don't die. They'll keep giving you stuff.
They keep giving
just stay in it and don't die. They'll keep giving you stuff.
And, well...
Mike died.
So, fabulous comic, and we miss him dearly. But, yeah, the truth is I've seen that. I auditioned for a lot of commercials, certainly out of the gates, and... Every decade, you'd see the drop-off. So in your 20s, you're up for every commercial. You're the beer-drinking friend. You're the sports fan, the whatever. 30s, you get a little more into maybe, the young dad, whatever. But I actually watched in my time in this business, now in my 40s, people there's just fewer people doing it. They, everyone becomes a real estate agent or they become a whatever else they do. And you realize you just keep doing it. And actually there's not that much competition anymore because there's not a lot of 40-year-olds who are.
This is dumb.
Exactly.
We've also made it our lives. So So in terms of someone else might be like, well, I worked all day and I did this and did that, and now having to go out and do a 7-minute set is kind of hard. That's all we've done.
That's all we ever did.
Even when we're not doing that 7-minute set, we're like, no, we'll go down to the club. So
I did it last night.
It's just who we are. I'm even when I'm going to LA next week, I'm like, I got to find stuff to do, and I'm booking spots. I'm like, if I don't book spots, I don't have anything to do.
And what's LA next week?
Oh, because we're filming for the documentary out there.
Oh, fabulous! Congratulations!
And
absolutely,
I got some spots. I think Monday at the store.
Look at you. Okay.
Wednesday improv. Thursday flappers.
Good old Flappers Burbank. There you go.
Friday
You're doing the whole LA.
Also.
That's great, dude. To be able to go out and get spots is not an easy thing. Sam Morrell talks about it. He always has great jokes when he goes out. He's done Conan 1,000 times. He goes out and I can't get at a bar show. I go out to do Conan and he's like, I can't get on a bar show in LA, but I do Conan, and it's,
So, but everyone has their kingdom. I really enjoyed this so much. There was a comedian from the Netherlands who came over here.
Yeah.
And he contacted me about doing shows or whatever, and he wanted to get, because New York's the heart of comedy, so he wanted to get the real feel of New York comedy. So even though we had a film crew with him, he was kind of hitting the open mics and kind of he booked some spots at Greenwich and the comic strip, and I met up with him at the end of the week, and he was just he couldn't wrap his head around the fact that he's walking into these clubs with a camera crew and no one cared.
And no one cared.
No one cared.
No one.
They put him on last on late night at the comic strip.
Is that right?
There was no one left in the audience, and I'm like, yep. And he's like, but I had a camera crew and I had this
right.
and that. They don't care.
Welcome to New York.
Get out. Greenwich, he's like, they didn't even want to get his name right. And I'm like, yep.
Yep.
Yep, they don't care.
Welcome to the absolutely.
Who cares?
Well, I always laugh. I always talk about it. I don't mean to be living in the past, but my first time on Letterman, I'll never forget. When you go, they're so friendly and they're so affable and they're so welcome. Here you are. Here's your makeup. Here's your this. Here's your cue. Here's your that. And you go through the whole experience and you get on stage and you finish. And I got off stage and literally I couldn't find anyone to even help me back to my dressing room because I was done. They had what they needed. They got my bit. And they're and I'm like, can someone tell me where I'm lost.
Well, you should really consider how lucky both you and I are. The Stephen Colbert comics don't get that experience anymore.
That's right. They don't do it anymore, right?
No, they do it on a Friday afternoon. Steven's not there. They have 10 comics.
So for our listeners, normally you do a late night show and you're on the show. You're part of the guest.
You're the only one.
You get introduced.
It's your prom.
And now this Colbert, that's right. They're doing they're stocking them, right? Yep. They're just having a bunch of comics come in the middle of the day, and the host is not a real show. You're just taping a bit. Oh my goodness, that sounds terrible.
That's
why I haven't done it again.
On their end, it makes sense. It's why should we just do one at a time when we just shoot 10 of them?
Crank a bunch down. Is there a live audience at least?
But you're not.
No one cares.
It's no longer
an event.
You coming out and performing a late night, and that's the Letterman show. That's the Letterman show. It's now Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
It's a special thing. Now,
you
might as well just take the subway there. You're doing a set.
$500,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's guys in front of you.
You're following other comics.
Yes, it's not even your show.
You want to go third or fourth on that. Yeah.
The host is a comic, and you're like, wow.
And then what do? They just tape Colbert at some point, just in his suit, going, our next guest.
Yeah.
It
works for them because he gets to leave early that day or whatever.
Would you do it if you offered it?
Yes, but once again, that's if you offered it. Would I put myself through the pains of writing out a perfect set and submitting it and praying and trying real hard, you do when you're trying to get a late night set?
Absolutely. It's the Super Bowl.
It just doesn't, it's great to have if you can get it, but
not the same.
No, because it's no, I don't know why they beat up on us.
Well, you knocked it out of the park. I was there for your your debut on network TV, and you couldn't have done better. And that, by the way, lives forever. That is in print.
They can't take it away.
Can't take it away. It is brilliant. It is beautiful. You look great. You're funny.
When I was filming the doc the other day at Seth, and they were like, man, you're fine. Like when you did your late night set, you were freaked out. They were like, you were so freaked out.
Is that right?
You were freaking all of us out. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. I was like, because the late night set, I knew I couldn't break from the script, and I was kind of with this. I'm like, well,
having a good time. Yeah, you do feel a little locked in, right? The late night set, you're like, oh, you feel like you're in jail. You can't go. Yeah,
and like, I mean,
it's in our heads.
Told me the jokes stopped working a couple of days before.
My joke is I can't believe my first one was in August. I said I can't believe it's already August. I guess I could stop trying to get in shape for summer. That was my opening joke of my first Letterman. And by the time I was up doing it, I was saying, can't believe it's already February. Like I had done it so many times that I couldn't even get words right. I was like, what? And that not on Letterman, thankfully, but in running it in clubs and running it, I must have done it 200 times in front of a mirror in my apartment.
Which you told me to do.
And you did.
Yes, and he told me to just keep repeating it, keep doing it.
And you did it.
And you weren't wrong. When I stepped out onto that stage, man,
bulletproof.
Whatever. Yeah, maybe, but like I wasn't really there. I wasn't present. Like my mind was all over the place.
Course.
And like if I hadn't practiced it a billion times,
the muscle memory.
Like literally as it was happening, I was like, God, I hope I'm getting the words right. I don't have any connection to anything I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then when I got to the end of the 5, I was like, I hope that was that?
I
don't even know.
You killed it. I watched it. I was there. You crushed it. And I felt like a dad. Just like watching after the early days of The Business Will Answer You. Watching you just crush it on that show was a fun thing. We cannot thank you enough for coming by, having you on the show. You're one of the true good people in comedy.
Somerville looks a lot better than it used to.
Not that long ago, you were shooting me in a different space.
I have the last footage of Michael Somerville in his natural habitat. The last footage of the wild, single Michael Somerville.
That is very true. Very true. Things have changed.
Oh, thank God.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ryan Reiss. You will see him. You will check him out. Anything you want to tell the people to look out for?
Instagram at RR Comedy.
RR Comedy. Instagram, RR Comedy. We appreciate you listening. Please like, rate, review us on iTunes. Greetings from Somerville, and we'll talk to you again soon.